Okay, Boker Tov, everybody. Good morning. We're now moving on in chapter 13. I just want to give you a kind of a portrait. I kind of got ahead of me. I'm sure this kind of looks weird to most normal human beings.
Prepared.
I need a little vacation, I see. There we go. Back to normalcy, sort of. Okay, so just a little, it's easy to lose the forest through the trees. So we're in the middle of talking about how even people who are very committed to Jewish tradition, or seem to be, and really take seriously the idea of serving Hashem in the two modalities of love and awe, which we're in the middle of defining. We talked about serving Hashem through love and how to do that, right? The idea of meditating on Hashem's greatness and all that. And we're going to talk a little bit about serving Hashem through awe. This is chapter 13. But he had started, if you remember, right before this, that even people who take those things very seriously can sometimes, in fact, suffer from, even more than most people, from hostility and ego and aggressiveness and resentment, etc., all of those things. And so that's what he's in the middle of explaining why and how that works. Now, and you'll see after we define what love and awe are, we already defined the serving Hashem through love, and now we're going to talk about serving Hashem through awe. He's going to talk about how at the very basis of those things actually can be the fundamental problem. Now, the one thing that emerges very, very clearly in this is that there are two polarities fundamentally of our whole sense of our own being. And we've talked about this before, but I really want to, like, this sort of has to be the frame of everything we talk about in all these chapters. By the way, it's 32 chapters, okay, which makes a lot of sense. This book, we're at now on chapter 13, so we're ahead. So, yeah, this is Logbone, we're not Lob. But of course 32, which is lob or lave.
Well, that would be for tennis also.
Oh, love.
Lob.
Oh, lob. Isn't there like a thing in tennis, love, a term love?
Yeah,
love.
Yeah. So lamed bet means, lamed bet is 32. It also means lave, heart, the heart to love. So, and actually the 32nd chapter in the book of Tanya also talks about this theme. Okay, so there's a lot of things that tie together here. But in any case, the point I want to make is I'm talking about the two polarities, fundamental polarities, kind of like a battery. It has like a negative and a positive. You know, it's like not very subtle. It's like, you know, you're either this or this. So the same thing when we worship Hashem, there's basically two polarities that fundamentally define our whole religious sensibility. And they are these very important terms. Yeshut or Yeshus or Bitul or Bittul, depending upon how you pronounce those words. Okay, so Yeshus is where you fundamentally feel like you're something, and Bitul is where you suddenly feel like you're nothing. Okay, and those two things define everything else. So you could be a very pious Jew, but it's flowing from a sense of Yeshus, of this feeling that I exist and I'm something, right? Then even though you have a whole structure of religiosity built on top of that, but because the structure is fundamentally flawed, it's fundamentally built on a sense of I exist, I'm something. So even though there's a whole structure there, it's fundamentally flawed, and the whole structure can be tainted by a fundamental poison. On the other hand, if we build upon nothing, it sounds like a shaky foundation, doesn't it? But it's the best foundation. If it's built on nothingness, then in fact, there is the authentic spirituality, authentic religiosity, authentic frumkeit, authentic Torah, and then that will express itself through a service of Hashem, which is permeated by acceptance, by love, by non-judgmentalism,
Mentalism.
Thank you.
How about no mentalism at all?
Coming here with one sleeve hanging on there. I can't speak English.
maybe you're less separate and you're actually a part of the foundation when you're like nothing.
Yeah, you're not subject to. It's almost kind of like I was imagining, like seismic, like when they build buildings, hopefully in California.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they build them to withstand a certain amount of quakes.
Right.
Like if you're sort of like firmly rooted,
They crack.
that's bad because then when the earth shakes, you're in trouble. But you can imagine if you're sort of rooted in nothingness. It's like I kind of just poetically kind of evoke this idea. It doesn't matter if the ground shakes because you're free of all that.
Actually, they have them on springs.
Yes, it moves.
I saw that in Japan when they had that big quake, and there was people taking a film of this building, and the building was just moving back and forth. It was just like
Yeah.
swaying.
So when we're nothing, it's actually an amazing idea because the idea of resiliency and being able to, survive all the stuff that life throws at us, whether you like it or not, it just comes.
That's the Jewish nation.
Of resiliency and survival, yeah. And the secret of that is it's like how do you stand with earthquakes? Well, you got to be able to, don't get too brittle, break. And so to the extent that we feel we're something, then we are very threatened by all of these earthquakes around us. But if we are light, we carry light, or that's not the expression. Like when you're
Go with the flow.
when you're like backpacking and you're
Flexible.
light. I'm this image of like
Right.
Oh yeah.
go travel light. If we travel light, yeah, you can, travel light, you can bend, twist, you survive all these things. Okay. So we started chapter 13, and we talked about the word being the idea of these two modes of religiosity. Love, that was the previous chapter, and the awe, which we're defining now. So we talked about being an accountant, if you remember, that taking account of how we are the way we serve Hashem, we do the mitzvot. Okay. So let's just begin from the beginning of the chapter. The other way that people can serve Hashem is in this idea of humility, shiflut, that feeling a certain bitterness at one's distance from God. See, you're going to find out something amazing. A person can serve Hashem with this humility and distance from, and a certain sense of brokenness and distance from God, and it's all ego.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the irony. It's going to be the irony. It's like that terrible joke. It's such a joke. Everybody knows. I hate to even say it again about, these guys are beating their chest in the yeshiva. I'm nothing but dust and ashes. And the guy comes in, he does it. Who's that guy? He's just here for 5 minutes. Already thinks he's dust and ashes. It's like, that's amazing because it's a joke, but it's like, it's true. That this is a person who's taking account of themselves, that they examine and scrutinize, they take an accounting of their thoughts, speech, and action. That we're not for God. Yeah, even if it's not just an overt action of prohibition, like just too much wasting time talking about things that are not for the sake of heaven. We're supposed to be God-centered people, right? And if we do things which are parav in quotes, which have nothing to do with Hashem, that's actually a religious deficiency. That's an amazing thing. In Chassidus, there's no such thing as parav. There's no such thing as neutral. Right? It's either, so we discussed it because we discussed these ideas in Tanya, because it's either coming from the side of Kedusha, of holiness, or the side of Sitra Achra. There's no middle, right? So if it's not plugged into Hashem, it's Sitra Achra, the other side. And even though it may not be overtly illegal against the Torah, what you're doing, it's not plugging into Hashem. Shem gam kein ra. V'chein gam ba'asiyat haTov b'kiyum Torah mitzvot. So also, when you're taking account in yourself, this is all going to sound really good, like part of what it means to be religious. You'll see in the end that this could be flowing from ego. So a person who scrutinizes the way they perform the positive mitzvot, and that really a person could scrutinize the way they do it and realize they're not doing it the way it's supposed to be. For instance, Every mitzvah has a certain function and a certain intention when you do it. For instance, to give examples, when a person puts on tefillin, they're supposed to have in mind, I am subjugating my heart and my mind to God. That a person's mind, a person's heart should be only to Hashem. That's when you put on tefillin, you're supposed to be thinking about that. And you're supposed to think to yourself, am I doing that? When I put on tefillin, am I doing that? Or am I thinking about my car needs to be repaired? When a person does the mitzvah of lulav, and also has a specific kavanah, specific intention, you're supposed to be thinking about unity when you do the mitzvah of lulav. Etrog, and when you perform the mitzvah of etrog, right? The etrog. So he has an amazing idea I never heard before, that the word etrog is 4 letters: Aleph, Taf, Resh, Gimel. Etrog. Okay? Each of those letters, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, a verse in Psalms, that is Aleph, Taf, Resh, Gimel, spells etrog, which is Al tivoeni regel ga'ava. Let not the foot of arrogance come against me. So etrog is, you just look at that and say, etrog. Remind yourself of the verse. I shouldn't be arrogant, right? The idea of unity, overcome arrogance, okay? In addition, every time you do a mitzvah, there's like kind of universal kavanah, intention you're supposed to have. A couple of Talmud Shamayim, that a person should feel there's accepting oneself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. And are we doing that every time we do a mitzvah? As explained in Tanya. V'im ein asiyat ha-mitzvah bofen kazeh, if we're not doing the mitzvahs in this kind of intentionality, voset rak b'krirut, if you're just doing it with a kind of coldness, u'b'derech, you're not emotionally engaged, you're not mentally engaged, just do it. U'b'derech mitzat anashim melumada, you just do it out of habit. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Especially when a person thinks about, there's another thing. This is all meant to be these things that a person who's trying to serve God seriously, but you'll see, it can also be bad, flowing from ego. These are the kind of things that typify a person who's trying to serve God from shiflut, from that humility, awe of God, not rather than love of God. So the additional things adding here, which is really interesting, is a person supposed to be thinking about the greatness of God. Now, why? Because we already talked about that in terms of love, but there's also, that is his great significance in terms of awe of God, fear of God. He says an amazing thing. When you serve somebody, it has to be a way which is commensurate with who they are. I want to honor somebody. Okay. So I guess if you wanted to, I don't know, you're a 6th grade teacher in the school, and you want to give a prize to the most best student in your class. Give a prize, or they try hardest, whatever. So, you know what? I'll buy them a book, or I don't know, whatever. You're the teacher, going to give a prize to the student who tried the hardest. Okay. So a book, right? Whatever it is. So, but, that might be good for that. But let's say, you're the CEO of a company with 100 employees, and you want to give an award to the best employee. Fine. I'll give him a John Grisham book. There's, in Israel, I don't know if this is even allowed in America. In Israel, around the holidays, employers give a bonus.
They used to.
Yeah, really? In Israel, that's standard. Like before Rosh Hashanah and for Pesach, they'll give a little something. And it could be a lot of money. It could be a month's worth of salary, right? Or it could be, sometimes they give it in the form of vouchers to go to the supermarket, but
gift card.
Yeah, a lot of money. We're not talking about $36. Substantial amount of money. So I remember one time I was talking to somebody, and you get kind of excited. It's nice to get, especially around the holidays, because you're more expensive. That's the idea. So someone told me the boss gave her, every employee got a bottle of wine. So in other words, when you give something, it has to be contextually appropriate. Okay, so I'm going to give something to Hashem. Right? I'm going to give him a mitzvah. Okay, so, but it has to be commensurate with who Hashem is. Okay, so the author here says an amazing thing. He says, you know what? In a certain sense, don't get depressed about this. No matter how you do a mitzvah, it's an insult to Hashem. Why? I know, that's a little depressing, is it? He says almost it's like a sin. Why? Think of a big king. It's a little hard for us to imagine a king. King Obama. Right? If you give a king a can of beer, oh king, you know, about Manischewitz. I want to give you Manischewitz. I'm going to give you a bottle of Manischewitz wine, right? That's insulting, actually. You see, you gave him something, but compared to who the king is, it's like, that's insulting. Whenever a person serves somebody, it has to be commensurate with who the person is. Hang on a second, Larry. So you don't give a present to a regular person the same as to a king, right? It has to be commensurate. And if you do a service to a king the same way you do to a normal person, it's like actually insulting and it's like a sin. It's like someone who's rebelling. It's an insult. You're debasing the honor of the king. So now that's just the mashal, it's just an analogy. Now think about Hashem, the King of Kings, all and blessed be He. There's no limit to God's greatness. What worship could you give God? What present could you give God?
Absolutely nothing.
That is not, in a sense, an utter insult, right? Like,
it can never be commensurate.
right?
Doesn't need anything.
You got to the punchline. That's why when we say the confessional, in the 10 days of tshuva, we have sinned. What if there was a complete tzaddik, never sinned, like Moshe Rabbeinu or Zev? Right? Never sinned. So how do they say Ashamnu? We have sinned. He says an amazing thing. Because even a person who does everything, in a certain sense, Hashem, I'm going to give you the present of serving you. I'm going to do all the mitzvahs perfectly. How are those mitzvahs giving to Hashem what Hashem, which is commensurate with the honor of Hashem? No way. And in that sense, it's kind of an insult, even though we're doing everything perfect. That's why everybody can say Hashem, we have sinned. I asked you, if you do basit mishu lefi amitak duatover mutuga ma'odam itit lechet yechashev. V'zeh shamru al pi vayikod artza. That's what it means that he bowed down to the ground. Moshe Rabbeinu, midat emet ra, and our sages say he saw the attribute of truth. Because as soon as you see the truth of what Hashem really is, you just collapse. No matter what you do, no service is service. So now here's what Larry just said. He said, but you know what? Like, don't have a heart attack over this. It's just something to like put things in perspective. But you should know that Hashem actually says, you know what? I know there's no way you could really serve me because, right, for the reason we said, it's not commensurate with who I am. But you know what? I don't demand it of you because it's not possible. And this reflects in the fact that when there's different options of animals to bring to as a korban, it could be a sheep, it could be an ox, depending upon your monetary level. So what is that saying? Saying, I understand that when you serve me, when you worship me, it can't be with my level. Just make sure it's commensurate with your level. Now, on that note, we'll have to stop, but he's going to go into this even more. Okay. We'll go on next week.